As soon as I saw Belza make this statement, I knew it was going to be her famous last words. Up until that point, though, I was like, oh man, Kinji clearly is failing here. I'm seeing the potential of season 2. I see failure, but trying again sort of a mentality. And then when I saw that he bought out the company, originally 40% with his own profits, and then a little mingling, and kind of being a bit of a troublemaker with his allies, he ended up having a majority of the stock and was able to become the CEO of the company that he despised for so long. It was a pretty brilliant plan, and sometimes seeing defeat is something that just feels so satisfying in a character like Belza, who, I have to hand it to her, she was a formidable foe, but no one can stop Kinji, even if he does give himself a golden shower on probably more than one occasion as he's trying to piss down on the peasants below and the wind catches him by surprise. I really feel like coming out of this season of Dungeon of Black Company, I say, if for whatever reason, there was never a season 2, would I look back at this as an incomplete adaptation, in the sense that, yes, most anime have more content that hasn't been adapted, but sometimes you get those endings that you feel satisfied. I mean, I had the same opinion with the Tome game when the first season ended, right? But then there's other times where it's a cliffhanger and it's a go read the source ending. I do come out of this saying, should there never be more? This is satisfying, it's open-ended, you know the journey is just getting started for him, but you also feel like he started off at the best possible place, rich, basically on the top of the world, immediately gets sucked into the bottom part of an even shittier world, and ends up at, honestly, the exact same spot, but with actual friends and family at that point in time. So, it's satisfying even though there's still more story left to tell. But I leave this season craving a season 2, and I'd love to see it someday. It was hilarious, it was original. Truthfully, thinking about it, it was probably about 6 or 8 seasons worth of most content, really. The fact that he easily could have just left for his original world, that could have been an ending in most shows, but the fact that he just craves the adventure, which I honestly, this is probably one of the first times I've really agreed with his mindset, because Kinji's he's a questionable character. But the idea that, for him, gaining his objective that he's fought for so long, it gives him a sense of emptiness, because now what does he do? Like, really, he doesn't have to do all that much. Even if his company crashed and burned in the next year, he will have made enough profits to live like luxury for the remaining days in his life. But he's someone who chases after a challenge, and I personally relate to that, and I can completely understand why he's like that, and I was actually buying into him wanting to go back to the original world, but there being some form of setup that would basically let him come back should he pursue it. Like, I could have saw a joke coming where he goes back to his original world, but he only does that on weekends because that's how he relaxes or something, right? There's a lot of ways to write it, but I love the idea that everyone bought into him truly leaving because he himself was setting it up as such. To see them all throw this party, and the fact that he's like, no, I'm just going to conquer the entire world. The entire world's going to be in the palm of my hands, and should he ever conquer the entire world, well then he'll go to another world and conquer that. He's someone who's always on the move and wants a new challenge. And you gotta respect and fear the hustle. I thought this was a great finale. I mean, the first half of it is basically seeing him down in his dumps. He's tortured, he's abused. I mean, they pretty much had the media painted against him. It was looking completely bad for him. And honestly, as much as I wasn't rooting for the girl, I had to commend her efforts because she really turned the impossible into probable for herself. And when he came in barging in saying that, you know, this is the new CEO and everyone was sweating bullets because probably a little fearful of the woman and her wrath, but also more fearful of what the company's future was going to look like. And then to actually see, like, you know, he turned that company around. I have to give him credit. Like, he's going to work a lot of people to their death. But in terms of turning it around and making it a lot more, I think, natural for the world, I think has a lot of good potential going forward, and it'd be interesting if they ever did give us a season 2, because seeing how fast this show moved from starting in a dungeon to ending as CEO of the company running said dungeons, you could just see the potential of him getting involved in wars because he's, you know, going to different nations, different countries, invading on their security, and then causing a big ruckus. And then you just have Giant Rim come down to lay the smackdown on them, right? There's just so much possibility, and I really love how this season, despite being open-ended, really tied up its loose ends. We know what the future would look like should someone like Belza continue on her destruction. Someone like Kinji might cause equal destruction in different ways, but at the very least, we know that future won't come with him at the helm. We can see the difference in the workplace. We can see his mentality change. Hell, they give us character backstory for his persona on why he's so determined to be better than other people. Who looked to be his mother was pretty much shunned, probably hit most likely, it's why she was down on the floor like that, as you have either another woman as a love interest or just the true family. Maybe this was just a casual love interest, he's the bastard child. Nonetheless, they let your mind race with it, and I'm sure if we ever get a season 2, we'll touch more on that in the future. But if we never do, it's good enough as it stands, and it gives you a clear picture without dropping massive amounts of information on why Kinji ended up the way that he did, which is exactly what you want to see in a final episode in a show that had a scumbag main character who you constantly rooted for, the same amount of you kind of rooted against, and you see why he became that way. And, despite his negative attributes, he's definitely helped most of these characters far more than he's made them suffer. The general worker, that remains to be seen. I mean, one of his first inventions and plans was basically to mind control them to their death, but, take the good and take the bad and see where you go from there, right? Totally expecting that we were going to have a confirmation of a season 2. I think I was just getting greedy because pretty much everything was either getting confirmation of a sequel, either in the form of a movie or another season. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to wake up on Friday, confirmation Dungeon of Black Company. And I was like, oh man, was it just too good to be true? But, I mean, I still think there's possibilities. I've said it over a couple of different series reviews over the season that because of how much anime is being made, a lot of shows that normally wouldn't get anime adaptations like Tsukimichi are getting it because they kind of have to now scrape the bottom of the barrel of things they normally wouldn't adapt. And in doing so, you're getting great adaptations and stories like Tsukimichi. So, Dungeon of Black Company getting a season 2 is something that I totally expect because Japan likes these types of shows, and that's the most important aspect. And even if maybe the West, this wasn't the most discussed series, it's something that's going to sell and make enough money to warrant it. I am completely confident in that fact. It's just, I wouldn't be shocked if it takes a year or so to get that confirmation. Hell, maybe by the time I even upload this video, it gets a confirmation. Hard to say, right? But it's one of those shows that you don't leave it like a Tokyo Revengers, right? And you say, holy shit, if we don't get a new episode in a week, I'm gonna have to go read that manga because of the cliffhanger. Here, nice open-ended, ties up the loose ends. Progression, character development, world building, very, very well done. Definitely one of my tops of this season. And I hope to see more someday in the future. It'd be impossible for me to read something like this because Kinji's voice actor, mixed with that gorgeous animation and art design changes with the ridiculous, I need to see this in anime form, but we'll see where we go from here. And honestly, I've been trying to think of my overall favorite moment of the show since it's coming to an end, and there's so many great moments, but I think the idea of just Rim, someone who really destroyed the entire order of that dungeon because she left because she was hungry and bored, caused such chaos in the future. It's something that's so chaotically hilarious that it didn't need to be that way. They could have wrote it in any different way, but just the casual reminder that food and her mind can be so lost in thought that, yeah, you got emotional stuff with her sister later, but still, that's probably one of my favorite moments. I just love it, and this episode is just another great episode, just kind of chock full of new favorite moments for probably a lot of different people. I'd love to know everyone's thoughts on the last episode or just the series overall. What did you think of Dungeon of Black Company? Did you love it as much as myself, or was it honestly just not for you? Let me know down below, leave a like if you enjoy, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.